go through some of these things, right? And I mean, he began to share all this, and it was just tremendous, you know, and he was talking about all these things, and he said, many people don't know this, but I had to have heart surgery after the movie because I got struck by lightning. And he said, you know, I was just willing to die for that. And he said, so we have to carry our cross. Jesus carried his so that we could carry ours. It's our privilege, okay? So looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him did what? Endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So we're going to have to go through some things. We're going to have to endure some things. We're going to have to overcome some things, right? And all of us have our crosses to carry. All of us have, man, this is going to be tough, right? But yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because someone is with me. And he went through it before me, right? I remember every day, Bruce, when I would go to that high school, you know, I had watched that movie, We Were Soldiers, and that song, In the Cold Cauldron. You know, when they drop them into those jungles in Vietnam, they would play this song, In the Cold Cauldron. You know, like they're about to be dropped into a cauldron of boiling water, you know. And so I was just weird. Every time I walked in that building, I would hear this song playing like I was walking into a Vietnam jungle or something, you know, because there's just so much electricity and so much darkness and so many attitudes, and you didn't know what was going to happen each day. And you didn't know where your help was coming from, you know, and it was crazy. But that was a glorious, glorious hour for me. I would never trade that for anything. And I wanted to quit every single day. And Melissa says, you cannot quit. And now, it's like a hallmark. It's like a gold standard for me that I turn back to every single day. And I walk in here and I say, wow, I'm so thankful to be here. But we have to endure some things. We have to endure some shame. We have to endure some crosses so that we can go to the place where we're assigned to be. Well done, my good and faithful servant. But as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he is with me. He has been there before me. He understands. He knows all my infirmity. For consider him. So Song of Solomon says, I'm looking to him. Thou art fair, my beloved. Hebrews 12 says, I'm looking unto Jesus. Now I'm looking, I'm saying he's beautiful, I'm pursuing him, now I'm considering him. And that's what we're doing today. We're considering him that endured such contradiction of sinners. You know, so many times working with young people, we're like, you know, they didn't appreciate that. They didn't appreciate that. I did all that work, and they didn't appreciate that. But can you imagine creating someone, right? Creating things for them, setting their destiny, putting their DNA, making them, and then going to die for them, and them spitting in your face and beating you and saying, you're not a king, you're just a loser, you're not the real thing. What are you doing here? He came to his own, and his own received him not. I mean, you know, when we're working with kids, sometimes you taste about, you know, a minute little fraction of that. You know, you're always saying, they didn't appreciate that. You know, moms, we know, you know, if you're a mom, you make this dinner or whatever, I don't, you know, and you're like, you know, and my mom always said, when you go to someone else's house, you eat whatever they put at your table. And I mean, I made friends with all my friends' moms. You know, I was like their favorite kid. Because I was like, oh yeah, I love that. You know, and I developed I developed taste buds that really did actually love it all, right? So, I mean, I'd go to one house, and I'd be the last one at the table, and then we'd get to talk with, their mom, and then everywhere I went, I was the last one at the table, seconds, they're fixing some experimental meal. They're like, "Wow, I'm so glad you come." And so then I got invited back, right? So they're like, "Your mom really, really likes you. My mom really likes you. She wants you to come back and eat again." I'm like, "All right," But my mom taught me that at an early age, and I really did begin to learn to like it all and to enjoy it. And I started appreciating new dishes, and I was like, "Wow, that's really good." And so, but our kids these days, if it's not this, or this, they don't eat it. And it's so grievous. We have kids at school, and they only eat certain things. It's got to be hot. It's got to be cold. It's got to be this. I mean, it's so, when I see it, it just, oh man, it breaks my heart, because it's not good. It's just not good training. Okay, they're going to be paralyzed at some point in life. You're breaking the favor. They're going to lose. You're not training them to grow in favor with God and man. Okay, that's one of those things. I don't know why I'm saying that, but somebody needed that one, and I just threw it out there. So, he endured the cross, for consider him that endures such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. So somebody knew that you're going to get weary and that you're going to want to faint. Right? Right? Am I talking to anybody?
Yeah.
Yes. When you get weary and when you want to faint in your mind, you've got to look back at him. You've got to abide in him. You've got to see how he sees it. You've got to feel how he feels it. And you've got to consider him who began this and finished it, and keep looking at him and see what he went through. And don't forget the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he received. Now, I've just been talking about the process, right? So that's what we're talking about. There's a process. It's a glorious process. And most of the ones in this room have already, learned to enjoy the process, actually. He says, for the joy, endure. We need some 20s and 30s in here, don't we? We need to talk to the next generation about the joy of enduring, And even at an early age, I remember my dad taking me through certain things, and I remember tasting, at a little bit older than Elias's age, when I did something that really hurt and was painful and I made it through it. I remember the joy on the other end was better than just lying around and have not done it. Right. And I remember experiencing that at a young age and saying, wow, that was really enjoyable. That was really good. And I remember my track days were always so painfully enjoyable. Every time before a meet, I would pray this prayer. I'd say, Lord, help me to hurt a little more. Because I knew if I could hurt more, then I could win the race better. Right? And I knew it was going to hurt, but I wanted I was running for that crown at the end. And so the chastening, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourges every son whom he received. If you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Okay? And furthermore, verse 9, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? All right? Okay, so let's turn back to, wherefore seeing we are compassed about with such a great cloud of witnesses. What is that? Verse 1? Yeah. I just want to turn back there real quick. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Let's turn back to Hebrews just for a second. 12:1. Now, this is another seeing that you need to see. Okay, we're looking unto Jesus. We're thou art fair, my beloved. That's Song of Solomon, chapter 4. Then we're going to Hebrews, and we're looking unto Jesus, the author and perfecter, and then we're considering Jesus. And then he instructs us in verse 1, and I know I'm jumping back here, but he says, what else are you seeing? What else are you seeing here? You're also seeing something else. There's a great cloud of witnesses. Jesus being the firstborn of many. But then you have all these others, LA. This great cloud of witnesses. So great cloud of witnesses. Let us lay aside every weight and sin which so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So my track coach used to say, listen, we had these outfits, they were very light, and you had this like a tank top type shirt, and they're really lightweight, and you had these shoes, and they're super light. So keys are off, wallets off, right? Everything's off, just our tracksuit. He said, now I want you, when you're running, I want you to look at the finish line. And I don't want you to move your head left or right. And I want you to relax your cheeks and let them flop. And I want everything to be moving. I don't want anything moving to the left or to the right. Because some guys would come in and they just run like this, right? And he says, I want you to set your eyes to the prize, to the finish line. Let your cheeks bounce, and everything is moving this direction. Okay? And this is what he's saying. And I was telling the teachers this week, I had this moment in my track career, and I wasn't, all that or anything. It's not about my track career, my accomplishment. I just had this moment in time. You ever had a moment like a similitude? And God just uses that moment to speak to you in future situations, right? So it's not, I'm not telling it to, wow, it was really a great runner. I'm telling you to give you an example, okay? So we had this meet, and it was, I think, a district meet. We were home field because our team was ranked pretty high, and we were trying to win state in Baton Rouge. And so we had to win as a team this meet to go to the next round, so to position ourselves, because we had a lot of good individuals, but we had a chance as a team, and you get points for winning each race. So we were down, and I was so bad at the speed events. I was so slow. My 8th grade coach said, you're slow as molasses bar. So I got the joy of running the 2 mile, okay? I got voluntold. I got voluntold to run the 2 mile, which everyone knows that means a lot more mileage in practice. You have to run, if you're going to race for 2 miles, you've got to run about 5 miles in practice to be able to race that. So I'm in this little motley crew of runners. It was me and about 3 other guys, and we were like, the guys that weren't fast in the 100, because the slick race is the 100, right? Everybody wants to run the 100 or the 200. Well, we're running the 2 mile. Okay? That's 8 laps around the track. There's no, you can't even do a highlight film to 100, bam, 200, bam, even the quarter, right? It's got some Hollywood feel to it, but the 2 mile, lap 1, 2, 3, people go off and get a Coke. It's like people go get a drink, or whatever. It's a 2 mile. They'll be done in a few minutes. We'll come back and watch the meet. So that's my race. Okay, and but this was different this day. They needed my points. They needed 10 points to win the meet. So all of a sudden, the 2 mile was different. Everybody was watching. My 6th grade teacher, all the way on up, they were all in the stands. The stands were packed, okay? And I had been training. I had not taken any shortcuts. I was ready for this day. And so the coach was talking to me, And he said, "Now, can you trust me with? Can you trust me with this race?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'm going to tell you when to go. I'm going to tell you when to kick it up a notch." And I was like, "Coach, I don't know if I can do that." He said, "But you trained, I think you can do it." So we're having this talk. So anyway, we get in the race. And it's down to me and this other guy. And we're in a foot race. And we're down to the last lap. And I mean, everybody's up on the thing. But, if you're running the race, you don't care, right? Especially a long race. Everyone's tuned out. I'm just like, God, help me survive. I just don't want to. I don't want to just crawl across the finish line. I mean, all my family, all my teachers since 6th grade are up there. I think I was an 11th grader. So we're coming around, gun lap, bang. I'm feeling okay, but I'm like, I don't know if I have a lot of kick. I weighed 185 pounds, okay, which is unusual for a 2-miler. And the guys I'm racing are 130, 120, right? And so I'm kind of an anomaly out there. I look like a fullback running the 2-mile. I was like, Lord, why did you make me slow here? But anyway, so I'm running the last lap. And so we're coming around, and we're coming to the last curve, and we're still neck and neck. Okay? And at that moment, something happened, okay? I somehow glanced up at the stands, and it was just like eruption. It was like, I don't care if you're tired. It's like Miss Bruce, my old algebra teacher, she's like, get your tail over there to that finish line. I mean, it was cheering and encouragement, but it was a vehement. Right? It was a vehement, it was like a grandma, get over the finish line. And so everyone's standing, and I locked into a few of their faces. And it was just like intense, man. And I was like, man, I do not want to let anyone down right now. I was like, Lord, help me. And I just had that, like a sudden shot of energy, right? And I'm like, I can do this, And then I looked, like the coach said, to the finish line. And oh man. So I'm running down the center of this track. The crowd's going nuts. And there is my track buddies at the behind the tape. And they are just doing, they're just doing all kind of stuff. Come on, like this. And both teams, it's a battle between this team and that team. And both teams are like, but they're on the finish line. And then one guy, he's like, here's the tape. And he's just like right here. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there, but he's standing right there. And it was just like everything froze for a moment. And in life, when I go through different things, I just see that picture. And that's the way I see the great cloud of witnesses. Right? It's like, they're in these stands. And it's just like, come on. And because in life, that's what you need that, don't you? And so it makes this verse come alive. When I wake up and I don't feel it, and I'm stepping into that kindergarten and there's no audience, and there's nothing going on, there's no inspiration. And you're just like, have you ever had one of those mornings where every step's like, those mornings? And you're like, you can hear it, And then I see that picture, wherefore seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. But we have a better cloud than I saw that day, don't we? Faith is the substance. Chapter 11. The elders that came before us got a good report. Through faith, worlds were framed. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice. By faith, Enoch was translated. Y'all, he didn't die. Didn't see death. He was translated. By faith, it is impossible to please Him. You must believe. And He is a rewarder of those that diligently seek Him, who do not quit, who do not give in, who persevere. By faith, listen to this, y'all. There was this dude named Noah. And it was a violent generation. And God told him to build a boat, which he had never seen, to protect him from rain he had never seen, never heard of, never seen anyone else doing. And it took him at least 70 years to build it. And he preached with his life and his mouth for 70 to 120 years. And the only people that followed him was his family. Now, you talk about a failure. Can you imagine obeying God in something so silly and so awkward and so stupid to the world that you did it faithfully for 70 to 100 years and no one listened to your preaching? Huh? Man, God, I don't know if I'm doing good here. Huh? But because he abided in the Lord and because he obeyed, did his fruit remain? Huh? But you gotta consider those things, right? Huh? My influence is small. My circle is tiny. My effect is lowly, right? We say all those things, don't we? He obeyed God in the silliest, most foolish thing ever God told to a man. Did it faithfully for 70 to 100 years. And no one listened to him except for his family. But his fruit remained, didn't it? His fruit is in this room today. And we are talking about him, and we are reading about him, and we are saying, he is one of these cloud of witnesses saying, you can do it! I did it! You can too! Isn't that awesome? Huh? I'm inspired! I can do it! But it's not going to be easy. Right? Because I have to persevere, I have to be steadfast, I have to do things people don't understand, and not everyone's going to listen. And not everybody's going to like it. Right? But yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because somebody is with me. Isn't that awesome? Lord, thank you for this time. Thank you for this moment, Father, where we can come and hear your word. Father, prepare us to hear your word again and more fully. Father, I pray for your presence to be in this place. I pray, God, that your love would take us to the top of the mountain, that we would gaze on you, we would look on you, we would see you, we would say, my love, my fair one, my beloved. That we would see you high and lifted up, that our perspective would be changed, that we would be encouraged in that heavenly vision that you've given us. And Father, I pray for this next generation, the 20s, the 30s. I pray, Father, for fire. I pray, Father, for your outpouring, God. I pray for intensity in spirit, Father. I pray, God, that your will be done. Shake. Penetrate, Father. Move. God, in Jesus' name, have your way. Thank you for this day. We honor you and bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.